Hey guys, it's Lady Raven, the Wild Witch, and I took December off, as many of you may know. And so, sorry there was no teachings for you guys in December, but I am back. And so today I wanted to talk to you guys about some crystals that you can use for a lot of your New Year's work. And we're going to kind of dive a little bit in depth. So I may end up going over my 30 minutes. I hope not, but let's get started. So there are 5 crystals that I selected for us to work with today and learn about today. And so one of them is green aventurine, which most people are familiar with. The other one here is a blue apatite, which most people are also familiar with it. Tiger's eye, which everybody knows. Why does this keep pulling off this? Oh, because apparently I don't know my directions when I'm looking at the camera. Tiger's eye. Garnierite, which is my favorite for working through in the new year. And Serpentine. And I brought different kinds of Serpentine so you guys can kind of start to get an idea of how this mineral manifests, because it is a very large group of crystals that is Serpentine. So, all right, let's go ahead and get started. So the first one that we're going to talk about, now the reason why I selected these crystals is for all of the work that you're going to be doing now as the new year is beginning, as we're moving into something different. A lot of times, people are busy doing the work of, I want to get rid of what happened last year and I want to embrace something new this year. And so that is generally the focus of most of the work that people are going to be doing right now for the new year. And so these 5 crystals that I selected are 5 crystals that can help you in a myriad of different things, regardless of what it is that you are actually doing for the new year. So let's get started. So the first one I'm going to talk about is my favorite. This is green aventurine. Now, green aventurine technically is considered what's called a quartzite. Now, what that means is that, and sorry, I have some notes here that I'm going to follow to make sure I don't miss anything, because sometimes I tend to miss things. So essentially what this is classified as a translucent quartz. So the way that this is formed actually is if you have a sandstone that has a lot of silica in it, once it's put through a lot of pressure and heat, it basically reorganizes its little molecules and it forms this. And quite often you're going to see little inclusions on the inside. I don't know if you can see it now. And they flash. And those are generally mica inclusions. And sometimes, very rarely, there'll be inclusions of, pyrite. But most often it's going to be mica. So green aventurine, because of how it's formed and all of the energy that's stored in here, green aventurine is the gemstone of manifestation. It is great for all types of making things happen. If you are trying to manifest a new job, a new home, anything like that, this is going to work out beautifully. It's also great for physical healing. So if you have to go, if you're, sick, if you're really, like if you have a cold or if you have COVID or if you have the flu or something like that, you can always program some of this with the intent of using its healing energy and keep it next to your bedside during the time that you're sick. And hopefully it will help you with that. But what I really like it for, what most people use green aventurine for, is fast money, because it does work really fast. And it is kind of a stone that attracts money. It's a metamorphic stone, so it really loves change. This is one of the things, one of the energies that's really contained within this stone. So the change of it is, how are things changing? How is taking one thing and transmuting it and transitioning it into another, which is essentially the same thing that you're doing when you are manifesting something into your life. So this is one of my favorites for that very reason. This basically is going to form, it's going to require a lot of pressure, and it's going to require a lot of heat, which means you can also tap into it for fire energy. This is why it works really fast. And you can also tap into it for some earth energy, because of all the pressure that's under it. So fantastic stone for the new year. Stone that everybody probably is familiar with. I love working with it in grids. When I'm doing money grids or manifestation grids, this is really a great stone for that. It can work with the heart chakra. This would not be my go-to for that. This is not one of the things that aventurine does. It can connect you a little bit to kind of like, if you're looking for new love in terms of attracting new love to you, it will do that. It's great for all types of attraction work, but I would primarily use this crystal for manifestation and that kind of work. So that is green Aventurine. The next one we're going to talk about is going to be Apatite, and most commonly blue Apatite, which is my favorite. As those of you who have seen my lives before probably are very familiar with the fact that I love this crystal. So blue Apatite, let's talk about how blue Apatite is formed, which gives us an insight into what kind of energy is inside of this crystal. So apatite comes from a group of phosphate minerals. And the reason why this is important is because phosphate minerals normally come from decomposing bones from other living creatures. So blue apatite has a strong connection with life force of any kind. So it's great if you have any kind of New Year's goals that have to do with you making changes in your life. I'm going to get healthier. I'm going to start working out. I'm going to quit smoking. I'm going to quit drinking. I'm going to quit doing self-defeating behaviors. It is a great stone just to kind of support your overall health, support kind of like how the things that you want to do and kind of keeping you motivated. A lot of people like to use it for weight loss because it is a stone that's going to help you. Not only does it help you with weight loss, but it also helps you to kind of stay motivated during the process. It provides you with this kind of emotional cushion as you go through that process, because you know when you're doing anything like that, you have those ups and downs. So this is going to be a great crystal just for overall support of yourself. It's a great crystal for self-confidence, for making you feel better about yourself. It is also a crystal that you can use whenever you have a lot of change going on in your life. And this crystal is going to be great for adaptation. This is one of the areas that apatite shines, is when it I have words today, when it's trying to adapt to different and changing circumstances. So this is when you're going to see blue apatite shine. So that is blue apatite. Another one of my favorite crystals that I really like is the crystal Garnierite. And Garnierite, most of you have heard me talk about this at length because it's one of my favorites. Garnierite, I call it the New Year's resolution stone, because one of the things that this crystal does is it helps you to stick to your goals. It's really good with willpower. It works really tightly with willpower. So this crystal actually has a very high content of nickel in it, the metal nickel. And so the way that this is formed, basically, if you have, there's a lot of water in this crystal too, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just make sure. Yep. Green nickel ore pockets and veins of serpentine. So essentially what happens is you have like a big vein of serpentine stone or any kind, and we're going to talk about serpentine in a minute, but you have a great vein of this kind of stone. And normally this is going to happen near water or things to that effect. And so the nickel is going to be deposited into those veins, and it's going to, as the Earth's crust moves and moves the stone around, it's going to kind of saturate part of the rock. So when you start looking at Garnierite and you see like the darker the Garnierite is, like over here, let's see, like right here, dark, higher concentration of nickel, the lighter part has more serpentine or olivine in it, which olivine, most of you know, is in the nephrite family. It's a type of jade, not jadeite, but it's a type of jade, like nephrite jade and things like that. So it's going to have a lot of that metal component in here, which is why a lot of times Garnierite is pretty heavy to the touch. Garnierite helps with willpower. That is the number one thing that it does. But it also has a lot of that water energy, and it's going to help you to kind of emotionally move through things that are difficult. So if you are going through a time, there's a lot of change. Perfect example, you're moving from one state to another, or you're moving from one house to another. You've got a million irons in the fire. All these things are happening. And you're like, oh my God, I need one rock that's going to be my rock, basically, that I can pick this up and go, I need to be able to feel good at the end of the day. So this is going to be Garnierite. So Garnierite is also going to be a manifestation stone, very much because it does have serpentine and olivine in it, which are the master manifestation stones. So it is going to have a lot of manifestation in it. It's not going to be as quick manifestation as the apatite, the green Aventurine, because that has a lot of fire energy in it, right? This is not going to have as much fire energy in it. This is going to be a lot of water energy. So it's going to be a little bit subtler than what you're looking at in terms of a green Aventurine stone. But this is also going to be great for heart chakra work. So if you're trying to do work to love yourself more, to heal your heart from previous issues, from previous trauma, if you're trying to heal yourself, maybe you lost a loved one, maybe you lost a relationship, you're divorced or you broke up with your long-term partner or anything like that, this is going to be a great stone for that as well. So it really works well to support us in our everyday so that we start moving forward and doing the things in our lives that we want to do, keeping us focused and keeping our emotional body in balance so it doesn't get in the way and keep us start acting crazy. So Garnierite, one of my favorites also. Now, let's talk about serpentine. And serpentine is interesting because it's not just one rock. Serpentine is an entire group of rocks that are going to be in that serpentine group, right? And serpentine are mafic rocks, and some of them are considered ultramafic. And what that means is they're heavy, heavy rocks. And the reason why this is important is because heavy mafic rocks, a lot of times, will not, when you're looking at magma and things like that, if the magma is mafic or ultramafic, it means it's really, really heavy and it's not going to make it to the surface of the planet. So it's mostly going to be an intrusive rock, which means it's going to form and cool underneath the crust of the earth and we're not going to see it. So you may be thinking to yourself, then how the hell do we get this? I mean, when do we find it? When we have different plates that are lifted through plate tectonics and different types of motions of the crust of the earth, those rocks are lifted and then we get them. But normally they form deep, deep underground. They have a very low concentration of silica in it, very, very little. Silica is basically quartz, which is in everything. So most of the time there's not going to be any quartz in this. And so they're going to form through a process of time and pressure and just overall releasing of the heat. As it cools underground, these intrusive or plutonic rocks are going to then start, a lot of them are going to cool into serpentine depending on what the composition is. So serpentine, what I really like about it is that it basically is there's different kinds of serpentines. This is a different kind. This is regular serpentine that you can see here. And serpentine, I keep going to the wrong way. Regular kind of serpentine, and it's normally characterized by you have a lot of these like lighter greens and darker greens in it. So this is one of the things that it has. Another type of serpentine, which is very, very dark and a little bit heavier. This is an Antigerite, which is a type of serpentine rock. And these are also great for all types of manifestation. This is good for change. Serpentine is a great stone for all kinds of change. And especially if you're trying to make changes deep, deep within. So I like these for all types of shadow work. It's a very supportive stone that works in that. It's great for manifesting any kind of things you want to manifest. It's great for working with the heart chakra, healing the heart chakra, connecting you back to universal love, all of those things. And then you're going to have different types. So for example, you hear a lot of times people talk about new jade, right? Not jadeite, but new jade, which is this basically. This is a type of serpentine as well. So once again, this is not as heavy as when you have more, the darker the rocks like this, the more mafic they have in them. And you can see we have three different colors going on there. So look at the color of the regular serpentine, look at the color of the Antigerite, and then look at the color of the new jade, right? But it's the same type of texture in the rock. When you look at it, it's the same kind of like non-foliated rock. So they're all going to be very, very similar in that regard. But they're going to be cooling underground. So a lot of the things that lie beneath the surface that you want to work with, that's where serpentine is going to shine. So for a lot of times, if you're trying to, I recommend it for people who are recovering from abusive relationships. Is a great stone for that to help you. You pair it up with like a calcite or something like that. It really does a great job. But I like it because it'll do both that and it also does the manifestation work for the new year. It's not as fast or as strong as green aventurine, once again, but because it doesn't have all that heat energy, right? It's got density. So this is going to be massive, big, big earth energy. So it's going to be a lot of earth energy in these. So that's going to be manifestation. It's going to be grounding. It's going to be connecting, with your heart chakra. All of those things are going to be sitting in serpentine. And when you're going to have all of these. And once again, this is a lot of times is known as new jade, but it is not jade. This is a type of serpentine. The other one that is a type of serpentine also is if you have infinite. is another. Infinite is actually a trade name, and it is a trade name for a type of serpentine like this that has rich bands of magnesium moving through it. So this is why you get that color difference. So this is serpentine, as I said before, one of my favorites. Now we're going to talk about my least favorite, but I know for a lot of people, it's their favorites. I'm not a huge tiger's eye fan, but a lot of people love tiger's eye. And there's been so much confusion over tiger's eye and how tiger's eye is actually formed. So I decided today to do a very deep dive to find out exactly how it happens and to find out so that you get the skinny on it. So what is formed? So tiger's eye is originally formed from a material called crucidolite. And crucidolite is in the asbestos family. And it is actually the most dangerous asbestos. This is a picture of crucidolite. You see anything familiar with it? I mean, I would not dare touch it because this would probably, be very, very bad for you. But if you can look at it, it's got like the same, all of these bands that run across this way, that once you look at tiger's eye, you're going to see those bands in there as well. So you're thinking, whoa, wait a minute. If this crystal is formed from this, then what the hell? Can I still use it? Is it still safe? Yes, it is, because there's a process when it comes to rocks called pseudomorphism. And that's a big name. And anytime you see the word morph in there, it talks about change. And what pseudomorphism is a process where you have something, petrified wood is a perfect example. Perfect example. Let me see if I have a piece right here. Let me show it to you guys. Great way to show you that. So perfect example of pseudomorphism. So for example, you have a piece of petrified wood here, and I'm trying not to get all the reflections from it, but I'm not being very successful. So what happens with petrified wood is, you see how it has the shape? It looks just like a piece of wood, but it's not. It's actually rock. So over time, the petrification process is a type of pseudomorphism. So over time, what's happened is the little organic molecules from the pseudomorph, from the old slices of wood, got replaced by rock. And so because it was done over time and there was pressure on it and there was nothing there to change the structure of it, it maintains the original structure of whatever it originally was. But now it's all replaced with rocks. Hence you have petrified wood, and you're going to have, this is going to be a type of that, but it's not completely 100% a pseudomorph, because it's interesting because there has not been a lot of research on tiger's eye. A lot of what people go by on tiger's eye is research that was done back in the late 1800s, which is crazy to me. So they thought when they saw tiger's eye and they realized it wasn't toxic, they're like, oh, this is the same thing as petrified wood, right? We can definitely see the shape of the crucidolite in there. We can see those bands that it's going to have. That's the crucidolite. Obviously, the crucidolite was replaced with this. Voila, we have our stone. Well, in 2003, there was a geologist decided that he wanted to really use a lot of the modern equipment we had to stick tiger's eye under the microscope and really understand what was going on in it. So when he did that, what he found, which I think is fascinating, is that what happens is you start with this crucidolite right here. And as this rock, and it always forms in very low temperature areas. So you have areas that you have water being deposited, and you have a lot of silica being deposited. Little quartz gets deposited, right? So that quartz is going to come in, and what it's going to do is it's going to take each one of those fibers and it's going to encapsulate it. So each fiber is encapsulated in the quartz. And in doing that, this is where you get the shimmer, because what you're seeing when you look at it, the cat's eye shimmer that you see essentially are those little fibers that are trapped, the crucidolite fibers trapped in there inside the quartz. So it is perfectly safe because each individual fiber has been trapped. So even if you cut this open, the fibers are still trapped inside the stone. So you don't have a danger of anything bad happening to you, because as long as you have that shimmer, all those fibers are trapped in there, because that is really the danger of asbestos, right? These fibers are tiny, they're like little pins, like minuscule. You can't even see them, and you need a microscope. And what happens is if that gets into your lungs, then it causes a big problem. And so those fibers in here are all encapsulated, And once the fibers become encapsulated, this is where you get this effect that you have, like that, right? How cool is that? So what happens? So now you're like, okay, but there's a difference, right? Because I've got some, see, I've got some blue tiger's eye on this side. I've got some yellow. So how does that actually work? So as the fibers are being replaced and the quartz is coming in, it depends on, oh, thank you, Kristen. I appreciate that. As the fibers are being replaced, what's going to happen is the quartz is going to come in and it's going to envelop that. And it's going to depend on how much iron oxide is in the quartz. And quartz and iron are like BFFs. Most of the time, you pick up a piece of quartz, it's going to have some iron in it in some kind. This is how you get, iron basically is a hematite, right? Hematite is a type of iron. So what's going to happen is, depending on how much iron is in it. So iron is basically like a brownish kind of a color. And when you have quartz with iron, this is how you get citrine. This is how you get smoky quartz. This is how you get all of those stones. So when you have iron, you have a quartz that doesn't have any iron and it replaces the fibers that encapsulate those crocitolite fibers, you end up with blue tiger's eye, which is much rarer version, right? So if you have, depending on ones that, if you have middle of the road kind of iron, it's going to turn this color that's more closely related to the orange reddish color that we associate with an iron ore, right? So that's going to be this color. This is going to be the yellow tiger's eye. And then if you have ones that have really, really high concentrations of iron, then that's going to turn into red tiger's eye. So with tiger's eye is a great crystal for personal change and transformation. It's the idea. So imagine of this process that we just talked about. You have these things that are incredibly toxic, incredibly destructive. This process. So imagine the crocitolite for you being an experience you went through, a trauma, something that is toxic, it's bad. And through the process here, where it becomes encapsulated with the quartz, making it not only not toxic, but changing it into something really stunning. So this is a great crystal to support you in personal transformation and change. Especially this one here that's very strongly associated with your solar plexus. If you want to learn to stand on your own power, stand on your strength, if you want to be able to say, hey, I want to be able to speak out, if you want to recover from something, and this is not really a stone that's going to help you to recover from the trauma. There are better stones that are going to help you with that. But this one is going to be one that says, okay, I've had the trauma, it's happened, I've done a lot of my work. Now I'm going to emerge from this as this beautiful new being. There you go. Beautiful new being being emerged right out of that process. So it's really a stone. I like to think of it as a stone of self-discovery. It's a stone that is going to help you to gain self-confidence. It is a great stone for personal protection, a lot of stone for luck and things like that. It's a great stone for creativity. So if you're an artist, this is something that you want to keep on your table for the new year. It's going to help with manifestation. Obviously not as well as these other stones, but if the manifestation you're working on requires you to kind of stand in your own power, here you go. This is the guide that I think a lot of times should pair up with these. So let me show you some ideas of how I would use these to pair up, right? So let's say I'm looking to lose weight in the new year. This is what I'm trying to do. So what am I going to do? I'm going to get myself a piece of blue apatite and I'm going to pair it with my tiger's eye. This is the weight loss win right here. So let's say in the new year, I want to launch a new business, brand new business that I'm launching. And so depending on what the business is, so let's say I'm making things and I'm selling them. So then from this, I'm going to want green Aventurine, and I'm probably going to want either Garnierite or I'm going to want some type of Serpentine combined. This is going to be a great combo for that. Let's say in the new year, I'm going to be looking for love coming up. So what am I going to use? I'm going to use tiger's eye. I want a compatible partner. I want to show them that I'm authentic, that I stand in my own self, that I'm this great, beautiful human being. And then I'm going to have some Garnierite, which is going to attract things to me. It's going to bring things to me because it's got a lot of that olivine trapped in it. So there's a lot of ways that you can combine these crystals to work on whatever New Year's resolution you have. So let's say your New Year's resolution is to open a business, but let's say you're a massage therapist or you are a Reiki healer or one of those other things. So this is going to be where you're going to use this and you're going to power it up with this. Because why? You are the product, right? So as if you're selling things, you're going to pair these two up. But if you are selling yourself, whatever skills you have, this is going to bring you comfortable in your skin, being able to say, hey, I know what I'm talking about. I can do this. And this is going to be people having confidence in you. So that show them that you are being very authentic. So this is going to be a great combination. And you can even use more of those. Like if you're going to do a grid, what a great grid. You could put this in the very center of it and fill it, round it up with this for paying clients, this for the confidence to do my thing, and then this here for overall support as I'm doing it, to just feel good about doing it. So there's a million different ways that you can combine these 5 crystals that we talked about into something really amazing for yourself for the new year. So I hope this was helpful, and I did not go over, so yay for me. I hope this was helpful for you guys. And if you have any questions, feel free to post and reply to this video, or you can go into the Wild Community at wildcommunity.com and sign up there. Quick note for everybody. I am once again teaching my crystals class. It just started this month. And Kristen, actually, you need to send me a message because I need to talk to you about that. I've just started the crystals class. You can sign up for it at wildacademy.com. And if you're interested in starting your very own spiritual practice this year, we also just started the Fundamentals of Shamanic Witchcraft class, which you can also sign up for at wildacademy.com. So that's my little thing. Don't forget this Friday, this Saturday, we have the launch of Wild Magic right next door. There's going to be a mind and body fair. I really look forward to seeing everybody there. All right, guys, take care. Bye-bye.